So, welcome to the networking roundtable. I have suggested to have a BOF on this. I think there are 2 or 3 things which we should discuss. So I think both Pavel and we made a pretty strong case that what we have today is not good enough. So in a manner of speaking, well, we both said scripting isn't really cutting edge anymore. And you said, well, you need to rewrite Network Manager quite a bit and you want to do a lot of things. And we also have a lot of things that we would like to change. So I guess the kind of questions that I have, and maybe you have as well, is what do people think in the community where we should be going, and how things should be looking and where the focus should be.
I was too late for the Network Manager talk, so I'm not 100% sure what it was all about. But when I see that you start in Wicked again implementing stuff that's surely not server specific, I'm wondering, wouldn't it be best if Network Manager basically focused on the desktop, and Wicked focused on the server? And so is it necessary that Wicked grows UMTS modem support? And it's just something that came to my mind when looking at this. I'm not sure if it's possible to separate out completely. Say, okay, there are probably some features in the wireless WPA authentication stuff is also used on wired office networks, and so it's probably not so easy to separate this out, and you might also need this on boxes that are running as servers in some networks. I'm not sure about that. So the question is if it's even possible to say, okay, Network Manager is only for desktops and Wicked is only for servers, because of course you cannot dictate who runs what where. That's the one thing. But if it would be good to focus more on well, let's do it. The one part of the problem in this piece of software and the other part of the problem in the other piece of software. I'm not sure about that, if that's... Yeah, I was surprised to see that Wicked already grew the UMTS support. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, okay. One comment to that from my side, and I'll hand to you that in a second. I mean, for me, it was an exercise to see how well the concepts worked, to try to support both server-side stuff and some client-side stuff. That was my main motivation there.
Unfortunately, I think this is entirely impossible to separate. And this is our conclusion at Fedora and at Red Hat. This is because we have lots of applications that actually rely on the networking layer. So, I don't know, I might come up with just my personal example. When I go tomorrow, I'm working at home, but yeah, I have a laptop at home. And yeah, sometimes I connect it to Ethernet, sometimes I do connect it to Wi-Fi. I'm starting VPN on top of it to get to the corporate network, but I'm doing network development. That means for it I need some virtualization. So yeah, I need bridging, I need virtualization on top of it. So my use case is exactly one of those that you cover server, you cover router, because you have to route for the virtualization hosts. And you also cover the desktop case, because I'm just going around with the laptop. So no, we cannot separate it. And maybe the other question was whether Network Manager can can do just the desktop stuff. No, it's no longer possible for us to just stick with the desktop stuff, because we need to extend to the other use cases, and we need just one network management daemon and not two of them, and not do interfacing with many of them. I don't mean it globally, of course. Yes, the SUSE people can have their wikit or whatever, but you know, for one distribution, we need to have just one default networking daemon that will work with the other tools. And currently, I wouldn't say it works, actually. Yeah, it sort of works. Yeah, I have my branch with some things fixed for myself. Some things are already merged to the official line. Some things are not ready to be merged. So yeah, it's a long way to get it. But I think it's our ultimate goal to support all use cases: server, desktop, and light or easy routing or something. What we are not covering with Network Manager is firewalling, because we expect other tools to be cooperating with Network Manager. So that's it. Thank you.
I think our target is more the server part. And we want to support also, for example, advanced routing. Yeah, we would like to have also some icon on the desktop where the user which is developing, it has some notebook and starts virtual machines on the notebook, can use it also to connect to the internet. But there the story ends.
I'm sorry I missed your previous presentation, but can you tell me what's the need for a network manager on the server?
Okay. The reason to have that is that there's a number of things that are no longer purely static. So you have to react to events from the network. So it starts with simple things in IPv6. The router advertisements tell you whether you should just configure a bunch of prefixes on this device and then be done with it, or whether there is additional information to be retrieved from the DHCP server, for instance. And there's a bunch of other things, like what do you do when a prefix expires, what do you do when the routing changes, and so on, which happens in IPv6. So the network is no longer a static thing that, oh yeah, maybe once it changes every year, but then we just go around and kick all the boxes. No, it's much more dynamic. And you have to be there and actually listen to the netlink events that the kernel sends you to detect that something changed and take the appropriate action. Do we have other examples, Marius? I'm sure we do. Yeah.
For example, DHCP on two interfaces. If you have two Ethernet interfaces and you have DHCP, there must be some daemon that decides which default route will be actually used. You can do this with DH client if you run it on all the interfaces at the same time, but then it's a network daemon. Then it's doing some configuration. I think DH client even can assign static addresses. So yes, it has built in some functionality of the network manager or wikit or any other network daemon. But with network manager, at least, we are trying to avoid using it, and we are actually preventing the DH client from doing anything to the kernel. So for us, DH client is just an information retrieval daemon. So we split this up, I believe, in the Unix way. So the DH client does exactly what it's supposed to do, get the information, and network manager or a replacement can with the kernel and the policy. And it has configuration, so it has a way to decide which Ethernet is preferred and which is not. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, that pretty much echoes what we're doing in the DHCP area, except that we just rewrote the thing because we wanted to do it faster. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. So, well, another reason for having a daemon is that you cannot boot your system and configure the networking as one big blob any longer. So that's no fun anymore. You've seen the complexity up there, and if you put all these pieces together, booting the whole thing will take forever, and we're just struggling to make things boot fast, right? So what you really want to do is you want to break up network configuration into smaller things and take a more service-like approach that also rhymes better with what system. So not like, oh yeah, let's go and wait for everything to be ready and then we say, okay, we're ready for service. But really, I think you want to break it down into smaller components and say, okay, first interface that comes up, we check whether actually the NFS server is reachable, and then we start mounting our NFS volumes as soon as that stuff is available, and then we can proceed no matter what the wireless interface is doing or this VPN thingy or whatever. Nobody cares about it as long as we don't have to send any traffic across it, right? And so this is also something that needs a central controlling instance that says, okay, I'm going to flip these 5 switches, but if that one comes up, I'll send out an announcement and then the rest of the game can continue. So there's a lot of benefit in having that. And once you start looking into this, it pops up everywhere where it says, oh yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Okay.
As a network developer, how do you manage having a network manager running, but at the same time, I'm sure it often is the case that you want to quickly reconfigure something or manually configure an interface or change the routing parameters and so on. And in those cases, well, does that happen to you? I guess it does. What's the workflow so that you don't interfere and step on each other's toe with regard to network manager?
I guess that's for you, Pavel.
Currently, I must admit that when I'm testing some networking stuff and I don't want network manager to interfere, I just turn it off. But our plan is to let network manager just see the networking changes, accept them, and not to step on them. But it's not as easy. We'll still have lots of talks about it and lots of discussions. But the basic stuff is that if you, for example, add an IP address. Currently, sometimes network manager keeps it, sometimes it destroys it. And I must admit that I don't know the circumstances and that I actually tried to find this out from the current code. And this is one of the reasons I'm rewriting it, because it's impossible. So the code is so bad that we really need to have this written from scratch. Maybe to be more precise, imagine you have lots of C code files that are maintaining lots of various stuff, including wireless, including bonding, including DNS stuff, and every of these files can have a call to change something in a kernel. So what we are trying to achieve now is that there will be only one place that will manage the kernel stuff, and that we will see all the changes that we like, we will see all the changes that we don't like. We want to start with the testing that will prove that network manager does what it should do, and the next step will be to detect any other changes and reject the tests if network manager does something more than it should do. So yes, currently it's impossible. Currently even I do turn off network manager at times. but in future we want to avoid this and we want to work with your local changes.
So one question about Wicked. I checked some of the logs, and you talked about how you configure the network, IP addresses, IPv6, IPv4. But when I have a complicated network topology, I have another problem. It's called name resolution. So do you tie into DNS setup as well? Because if my VPN is up, I need some part of the network resolution to switch. And when my local network comes up, I want some name resolution to happen there and stuff like that. Is that also covered, or is that something else entirely?
So there is the idea exists, and there is some preliminary support, which is you can listen to changes in the DNS configuration. So whenever we install a new lease that we receive from somewhere, we send out an event that, well, we have a new lease, the network configuration changed. And then you can actually go and try to resolve your name and even try to reach it or try to connect to it and see what happens. Those checks exist. These are essentially two checks rolled in one. One is trying to do the DNS resolution and the other is trying routability. So you don't really connect via TCP, but you do a UDP connect, which tells you whether the local routing table actually has a clue where it would send the packages if you actually tried to. Of course, you can make that more complex, but for now, that is the extent of what we have. And certainly, given that we're moving into more and more into a systemd world where you have these different stages of happiness during your boot, then
My general stage of happiness with systemd is pretty low.
I'm sorry to hear that. And we're not going to repeat that for the recording. But yeah, essentially trying to play well in the systemd world also means that you want to have events notifying you of such changes. Yeah. So I think, yeah, Robert and Harald, you also wanted to ask something, so I guess it's Harald first. Sorry, Robert.
So both groups worked a lot, stayed a lot, and my feeling is you looked at each other's code. If you look at the other's code, what you like about, and have you think about combined forces?
Okay, do you want to go first or me? Okay. I have to say, what Pavel said in his presentation today, that is stuff I like much more than what I have seen in the code up to now. So I think there is potential to collaborate. My personal experience with Network Manager during the past couple of years was a little different. But I'm seeing him say the right things, and actually a lot of our motivation seems to be along the same lines. And I guess if we sit down and actually talk about some of the details, I think there will be even more overlap. And personally, I'm not, this isn't my favorite baby where I say, okay, if this baby dies, then I'm totally unhappy. I want the networking configuration to work well. And I just outlined what that means for me. And if I think we strike an agreement here, then I'm fine with that as well. I don't need that to prove my worth.
So for me, it will maybe take a little bit longer, because I actually wanted to ask the same question here. It's the first time we see each other, and it's the first time we really talk to each other. Yeah, I've seen some exchange of emails between you and Dan Williams, which is our unofficial project leader. I must admit I like your project, but as I see it, you're talking about lots of stuff you will implement, and we already have it. So, yeah, lots of it. And lots of stuff that is actually not complicated in itself, but becomes a burden. For example, this is the if up-down compatibility. Currently with Network Manager, we did one thing. We selected out all bug reports about if up-down and gave them one single group that we don't look at and leave it up to the Debian people to submit patches. Because we really don't have time to cope with other distributions. I don't know if you do, but it's quite a lot of work. Every change, every new feature, every change in our configuration must be also done in if up-down plugin. Yeah, that's quite a lot. None of us will do this because we really don't have time for that. So we're just waiting for the patches. I don't know what's your opinion on this and how you plan to do this. I don't know how many people work on Wicked. We have 4 people, so yeah, and we feel that these 4 people have quite a lot of work. Actually, to be a little bit more positive, we were talking with Thomas Graf, which is a kernel developer and libNL author. Are you using libNL or not? Yes, you are. We were talking about the platform interaction. We were talking about virtualization and projects that need to work also on other platforms, like even Windows. And we were talking about a possibility to create a library for this that would be cross-platform, and a Network Manager would be one of the users for it. This could work for both of us. Just think about it and we can talk about it later. There are many other things in Network Manager that I considered would be nice to move out and just use as a library. So there are many things we could actually share. I don't know if you're up to something like that or not, but it's a possibility. Yeah, there are lots of stuff that are already finished. There are lots of stuff that need just some changes. We might even talk about configuration formats. We might even talk about dbus interfaces. Yes, sometimes it might be nice to have at least some of them in common. I don't know. Yeah, this is maybe my addition to the question, and you probably want to react or not.
Okay. Yeah, I mean this is something we need to talk about. I mean, from my perspective, if we see Network Manager moving in the direction we think is the right one, I'm totally happy to go and contribute there. I would like to see some of the layering that we have in Network Manager, because anything that's non-layered will not really work for a very long time. And I mean, we've been talking for if-up and the ifconfig scripts, we're talking about a lifetime of 15 years. And I don't want to change Network Manager again and rewrite it again and again and again in 3 years and then 3 years after that. So that it needs to have the same life expectancy, and it needs to have some sort of backward compatibility. And I believe the Red Hat enterprise customers will ask for the very same things as ours do. So there needs to be some smoother migration. So I'm just being told that we've got 3 minutes left. So, Robert. I'm running.
All right, thank you. Well, this basically goes in the same direction, right? I mean, you look at it from a distribution point of view, it's easy, right? Distribution point of view is easy. We can implement Wicked, they can have Network Manager. We don't care, OpenSUSE, Fedora, whatever. But the people that care are the people that sit on top, ISVs that need to interface with the network, right? And we already have problems with ISVs of having different config file formats today, right? So now if this goes in 2 different directions, as this appears to be going, that's going to be creating a big mess for, you know, the IBMs of the world and whatever else that have applications that depend on network configuration. They possibly set up the network in appliances by themselves without, and if they have to interface with different tools on different enterprise distributions, it's going to be a big mess. So my recommendation would be that you guys better work it out, and there better be one way to do it and not 2 different ways, because if we do, both enterprise distributions will suffer.
Okay, thank you. You're expecting an answer, or? No. Okay, because I don't have one. Carsten, okay. I guess then you're the last guy to say something.
What is the feedback from people outside SUSE for that? Because it's on Git, where was it, hosted Gitorius, so it's not an OpenSUSE project. So.
Okay, well, we don't have too many reactions because we have only started to, do some marketing for it recently. We had a lively conversation on the Fedora list. Some Red Hat people actually mailed me and they said, well, they like the design. A lot of Red Hat people mailed me and said they prefer Network Manager because, and that's about the extent of feedback that we have had so far.
Actually, the problem in Fedora and especially Red Hat is not about project quality or something. Even if we decided that Wicked is slightly better for us for the future, it would eat lots of our resources because we would then need to run both of the projects because we just can't afford to leave Network Manager. So the problem is that you will hear from many people that they will say they like it. They might even try it, but then they will usually go back to Network Manager because they know we will have to support it anyway. So that is the problem. It's not about software quality, even if we really do things in a worse way. It doesn't mean that we can switch easily to another project.
Okay, I guess we're at the end of the conversation. I'm being told that we've run out of time. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining the conversation with us, Pavel. Thank you all for your time and your patience, and enjoy the day. We'll be outside. You can grab us and talk more about this stuff. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.